إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, فإنشاءالlah today we will begin the reading from the book and the translating of the book entitled Al-Musannaf, as collected by Abu Bakr, Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Shaybah, rahimahullah ta'ala, who died in the year 235 after the Hijrah. And this is the second group of lessons or group of translations from the series of the books that contain for us the statement of the Salaf, or the statements of the Salaf and their words and their wisdom. So we took yesterday the book that is called Al-Mawsu'ah, or Mawsu'at al-Tafsir al-Ma'thur, the encyclopedia of transmitted tafsir, in which they compiled the statement of the Salaf from the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' al-Tabi'een regarding the tafsir of the Quran. And after the Quran, we saw fit to mention the approach or the minhaj of the Salaf as it related to the ahadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And to do that, we saw fit to use this book known as the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah. So a Musannaf, as we've talked about before, is a collection that is similar to a Jami', or similar to a major collection of hadith like the Jami' of Al-Imam al-Bukhari, except that a Musannaf, it focuses more on the statement of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' al-Tabi'een, whereas a Jami', it focuses more on the statements, the actions, and the allowances of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this book, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, it will show us the statements of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Atba' al-Tabi'een, what we call the Salaf. It will show us the statements of the Salaf as it relates to a particular issue or hadith, and how they understood it and applied it in the various issues. And the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah is perhaps the biggest Musannaf that has reached us today from the works of the Salaf. And although there might have been other Musannafat that might have been bigger, as we'll talk about shortly, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah is perhaps the biggest one and the most comprehensive one that reached us today. So you have the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, and before him the Musannaf of Abdul Razzaq San'ani, and the Musannaf of Sa'id ibn Mansur, and likewise you had the Musannaf of Baqi ibn Makhlad, and all of them except the Musannaf of Baqi have reached us, some portion of them, and the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah is much vaster than them all. It's more vast than all of them, it having taqriban approximately 40,000 narrations in it, from hadith to athar. And our method in reading this book, it will be that we will read the hadith of a particular chapter. And from the things that I've wanted to do for a while, that I haven't been given the success to complete yet, is a translation of Taqrib al-Tahdhib by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah ta'ala, the book in which he collected the people of the 6 books, all of the people that are mentioned in it, and he mentions them with brevity, an abbreviated mentioning of who they are and what was their level in hadith, yani jarh wa ta'dila, as it relates to jarh and ta'dil. And I've wanted to do this for some time now because there's no resources for the English-speaking individual to familiarize himself with the people in the chain. Generally speaking, there's no ability for him to familiarize himself with the people in the chain. And so what we'll do, inshallah, is as we read every bab, we'll read some of, or we'll try to read for every person, inshallah, their mentioning in Taqrib al-Tahdhib as well, so that it can be a resource, because as we'll see, Ibn Abi Shaybah was from the shuyukh of Ashab al-Sittah. He was from the teachers of those individuals who compiled those 6 books: Bukhari, Muslim, Sunan Abi Dawood, Sunan Nasa'i, Jami' Tirmidhi, and the Sunan of Ibn Majah. And indeed, Ibn Abi Shaybah himself, his narrations can be found in all of those books, with the exception of At-Tirmidhi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he was a direct teacher of Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, and Ibn Majah. And An-Nasa'i, he narrated on him bil-Wasita. And he with bil-Wasita, with the intermediary between him and Ibn Abi Shaybah. The point is that with every bab, we'll read the people in the chain, and we'll mention just who they are in brevity and a brief description of them, similar to, as you might see, our Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad Hafidhahullah, how he might mention the people in the chain, just so you can get familiar with them. And we'll do so in English, and obviously the difference is that we'll be reading while the Shaykh Hafidhahullah, mashallah, lahu dhakiratun ajibah, an amazing recall that he has, Hafidhahullah, for the people in the chain. So that's our intent, and maybe every lesson will read an in-depth biography of one of the narrators. Maybe just one of the narrators for each bab, so that we can be familiar with some of the more famous and popular narrators, so that their remembrance can stay with us from now until, inshallah, later. That being said, today's reading, inshallah, we decided to read from the book Siyar A'lam al-Nubala by Imam al-Dhahabi, the biography of Ibn Abi Shaybah, and the biography of the one who narrated this book upon him, i.e. the version or the riwayah, the chain of the book that we have of him, Ibn Abi Shaybah, the individual who narrated the book from him, the version of the book that has reached us. We wanted to mention the biography of Ibn Abi Shaybah, as well as the biography of the Rawi, the one who reported or transmitted the book from him, Bakr ibn Makhlad, rahimahullah, or rahimahumullah ta'ala, rahmatan wasi'ah. So that being said, we say that Al-Dhahabi rahimahullah ta'ala, he said in Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, or Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, Ibn Abi Shaybah, Kha, Mim, Dal, Sin, Qaf. Yani, Ibn Abi Shaybah, his hadith can be found in Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, and At-Tirmidhi. These are the abbreviations for these individuals. He said he was Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn al-Qadi Abi Shaybah Ibrahim ibn Uthman ibn Khawasati al-Imam al-Alam سيد الحفاظ وصاحب الكتب الكبار المسند والمصنف والتفسير أبو بكر العبسي أو العبسي مولاهم الكوفي. He said that Ibn Abi Shaybah, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, his name was Abdullah, the son of Muhammad, the son of Al-Qadi Abu Shaybah, whose name was Ibrahim, or the son of the judge Abu Shaybah, i.e. his grandfather was a judge in Wasit. The son of the judge Abu Shaybah, Ibrahim, the son of Uthman, the son of Khawasati, who was an imam. Yani, talking about Abu Bakr, he was an imam and a well-versed scholar, the leader of the people of Hifth, yani al-Huffaz, the level or the status of the people of scholars of hadith. He was from their leaders, and he is one who wrote many large books, like the Musnad. He has a Musnad, and he had a Musannaf, and he had a Tafsir. His kunya was Abu Bakr. He was attributed to the tribe of Bani Abs, Al-Absi, Mawlahum. i.e. his family was from the freed slaves of the Abs tribe, and he was from the people of Kufa. He was from the people who were attributed to the city in Iraq known as Al-Kufa. Al-Kufa. Al-Dhahabi, he says, هو أخو الحافظ عثمان ابن أبي شيبة والقاسم ابن أبي شيبة الضعيف، فالحافظ إبراهيم ابن أبي بكر هو ولده، والحافظ أبو جعفر محمد بن عثمان هو ابن أخي، فهم بيت علم وأبو بكر أجلهم. He says that he was the brother, Abu Bakr, he was the brother of Uthman ibn Abi Shaybah. Likewise, Al-Qasim ibn Abi Shaybah, but that individual was weak in narration. Likewise, the scholar of Hadith, Ibrahim ibn Abi Shaybah, was his son. And the scholar of Hadith, Abu Ja'far, Muhammad ibn Uthman, was his nephew. And so they were a family known for knowledge. And Abu Bakr was the most noble of them. He says, وهو من أقران أحمد بن حنبل وإسحاق بن راهوية وعلي بن المديني في السن والمولد والحفظ ويحيى بن معين أسن منهم بسنوات. He said he was a contemporary of Ahmed ibn Hanbal and Ishaq ibn Rahuya and Ali ibn al-Madini as it related to their age and the times that they were born and as it related to their scholarship in hadith. And as far as Yahya ibn Ma'in, then he was older than all of them by several years. He said, طلب أبو بكر العلم وهو صبي وأكبر شيخ له هو الشريك ابن عبد الله القاضي سمع منه ومن أبي الأحوص سلام بن سليم وعبد السلام بن حرب وعبد الله بن المبارك وجرير بن عبد الحميد وأبي خالد الأحمر وسفيان بن عيينة وعلي بن المسهر وعباد بن العوام وعبد الله بن إدريس وخلف بن خليفة الذي يقال إنه تابعي وعبد العزيز بن عبد الصمد العمي وعلي بن حاشم بن البريد وعمر بن عبيد الطنافسي وأخويه محمد ويعلى وهشيم بن بشير وعبد الأعلى بن عبد الأعلى ووكيع بن الجراء ويحيى بن القطان وإسماعيل بن عياش وعبد الرحيم بن سليمان وأبي معاوية ويزيد بن المقدام ومرحوم العطار وإسماعيل بن علية وخلق كثير بالعراق والحجاز وغير ذلك، وكان بحرا من بحور العلم وبه يضرب المثل في قوة الحفظ. حدث عنه الشيخان وأبو داود وابن ماجه وروى النسائي عن أصحابه ولا شيء له في جامع أبي عيسى. He says, and he was from, he says, and Abu Bakr, he sought knowledge at a young age while he was still a young individual, while he was still a child. And from his oldest or most senior teachers is Sharik ibn Abdullah the Qadi. And Sharik ibn Abdullah was a famous judge in Kufa. And he heard from him as well as from Abil Ahwas, Salam ibn Sulaim, Salam the son of Sulaim, and Abdul Salam ibn Harb, and Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, and Sufyan ibn Uyayna. And we say all the time, like, these names are names that the student should know. You have to know who Abdullah ibn Mubarak and Sufyan ibn Uyayna, who these individuals are. And he heard from Ali ibn Mushir, and Abbad ibn al-Awwam, and Abdullah ibn Idris, and Khalaf ibn Khalifa, the one who had said about him that he was a tabi'i. This individual, Khalaf ibn Khalifa, it's said that he was the last tabi'i. The last tabi'i to die, it is said that he was Khalaf ibn Khalifa. And this is said because he says that he narrated on Amr ibn Hurayth. And so if this is true, that he actually narrated on Amr ibn Hurayth, then that would make Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah from the Atba' al-Tabi'een, from the third generation. And this individual, Khalaf ibn Khalifa, he died in the year 181, and some say 171. In any circumstance, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, he narrated on Khalaf ibn Khalifa, the one who had said that he was a tabi'i. Likewise, Abdul Aziz ibn Abdul Samad al-Ammi, and Ali ibn Hashim ibn al-Barid, and Umar ibn Ubayd al-Tanafisi, and likewise al-Tanafisi's brothers, Muhammad and Ya'la, and Hushaym ibn Bashir, and Abdul A'la ibn Abdul A'la, and Waki' ibn al-Jarrah, and Yahya al-Qattan, and Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan, and likewise Ismail ibn Ayyash, and Abdul Rahim ibn Sulaiman, and Abi Muawiyah, and Yazid ibn al-Miqdam, and Marhum al-Attar, and Ismail ibn Ulayya, and a large number from the scholars besides them in places like Iraq and Hijaz, i.e. the Arabian Peninsula, Mecca, Medina, in that area, as well as other than those locations. And he was an ocean from the oceans of knowledge. And he was one that the example was made about him, meaning people, when they would compare people to people and make examples, they would use him as the standard. He was the standard with which examples were set. Regarding the strength of his memory. He was the standard to which examples were set regarding the strength of his memory from those who narrated from him, from his students. If these were his teachers, then from his students were the likes of Ash-Shaykhan, yani Bukhari and Muslim, and Abu Dawood and Ibn Majah. Likewise, An-Nasa'i, he narrated from Abu Bakr's students. And there isn't any mentioning of him, there are no narrations of his in the Jami' of Abu Isa, yani at-Tirmidhi. He says, وَرَوَوَى عَنْهُ أَيْضًا Muhammad ibn Sa'd al-Katib, as well as Muhammad ibn Yahya, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Abu Zur'a, and Abu Bakr ibn Abi Asim, and Baqi ibn Makhlad, and Muhammad ibn Waddah, and the two scholars of hadith from Andalus, Islamic or Muslim Spain. He says, likewise, Al-Hasan ibn Sufyan, and Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili, and Ja'far al-Firyabi, and Ahmed ibn al-Hasan al-Sufi, and Hamid ibn Shu'aib, and Salih Jazara, and Al-Haytham ibn Khalaf al-Dawri, and Ubayd ibn Ghannam, and Muhammad ibn Abdus al-Sarraj, and Al-Baghandi, and Yusuf ibn Ya'qub al-Naysaburi, and Abdan, and Abu al-Qasim al-Baghawi, and a large number of individuals besides these. So here he's mentioning who some of his teachers were and who some of his students were. And indeed these names, and I know sometimes the names can be tedious for some individual, but know that the names or the people in the chain, nobody loves them except real men. And so it's important that we familiarize ourselves with them, get used to hearing their names as if we're living amongst them. And so we get to know them as if we're amongst their time and their presence. So these were his teachers and his students, and we see some of these names are the pinnacle of achievement in this field. And so if this was his teachers and these were his students, فَكَيْفَ بِهِ, then how about him himself? Al-Dhahabi, he goes on to mention him and talk more about him. He says, قال يحيى بن عبد الحميد الحماني أولاد بن أبي شيبة من أهل العلم كانوا يزاحموننا عند كل محدث. Yahya ibn Abdul Hamid al-Hammani, he said that children, all of the children of Ibn Abi Shaybah, yani Abu Bakr and Uthman and Qasim, or Al-Qasim, all of the children of Ibn Abi Shaybah are from the people of knowledge. And they used to compete with us, or they used to crowd us. They used to go with us to every muhaddith, meaning all of the gatherings that used to have large numbers of people that will be crowding each other to get knowledge. You would find the children of Ibn Abi Shaybah in those gatherings. He said, قال أحمد بن حنبل أبو بكر صدوق وهو أحب إلي من أخيه عثمان. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he said that Abu Bakr was an individual that was saduq. And this is high praise and balanced praise from Imam Ahmad. He was trustworthy and reliable. And he was more beloved to me than his brother Uthman. Meaning, as it relates to narrating hadith, Imam Ahmad preferred Abu Bakr over his brother Uthman ibn Abi Shaybah. Ibn Abi Shaybah. He said, وَقَالَ أحمد بن عبد الله العجلي. Ahmad ibn Abdullah al-Ijli is a famous scholar of hadith. He said that كان أبو بكر ثقة حافظا للحديث. Abu Bakr was ثقة, righteous and reliable, 2 thumbs up. And he was a scholar, an extreme scholar or a high scholar of hadith. حافظا للحديث. وقال عمرو بن علاء الفلاس ما رأيت أحدا أحفظ من أبي بكر بن أبي شيبة قدم علينا مع علي بن المديني فسرد للشيباني 400 حديثا 400 حديث حفظا وقام. Amr ibn Ali al-Fallas, he said, I've never seen anybody with a greater memory than Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. He came to us along with or accompanied with Ali ibn al-Madini. And he, off the top of his head, he narrated 400 hadith from memory, saradan, like straight away, right? Without any delay, saradan, just one after another from memory to an individual known as Shaybani, one of the individuals there. And after he was done, he got up and left. قال الإمام أبو عبيد يعني القاسم بن سلام انتهى الحديث إلى 4 فأبو بكر بن أبي شيبة أسردهم له وأحمد بن حنبل أفقههم فيه ويحيى بن معين أجمعهم له وعلي بن المديني أعلمهم به. Al-Imam Abu Ubaid al-Qasim bin Salam, he said that the hadith have ended up with 4 individuals. During his time, the hadith, if you wanted hadith, then there's 4 people that you had to go to. The hadith ended up with 4 individuals. So Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah was the most capable in transmitting them, right? He was asraduhum la. He was the most able in narrating them. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he had the deepest or the more intense understanding of them, their meanings, their explanation, their fiqh, right? How to explain them. He had the best understandings of them. And Yahya ibn Ma'in was the one with the most compilation of them. He had the most of them compiled. As we'll see later, this was something that they expressed also by saying he was most aware of the mistakes of the narrators because he had the most chains, the most versions. He would get it from this one and that one, so he was ajma'uhum lah. He had the most versions of them. And Ali ibn al-Madini, he had the most knowledge of them. Right? He had the most knowledge about hadith. As it related to hadith, Ali ibn al-Madini was the most knowledgeable of it, i.e. its hidden defects and its subtle faults. Naam, al-Dhahabi, he goes on to say, قال محمد ibn عمر ibn العلاء الجرجاني سمعت أبا بكر ibn أبي شيبة وأنا معه في جبانة كندة فقلت له يا أبا بكر سمعت من شريك وأنت ابن كم؟ قال وأنا ابن 14 سنة وأنا يومئذ أحفظ للحديث من اليوم. قلت الصدق والله وأين حفظ المراهق من حفظ من هو في 80. Muhammad ibn Umar ibn al-Ala al-Jurjani, he said, I heard Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. And this is while we were in the graveyard of the people known as Kenda, or the area of Kenda, which is an area in Kufa, the graveyard of the desert area where they might bury the bodies that was attributed to this tribe of Kenda. He said, and it's a famous location. He says, وَنَحْنُ فِي جَبَّانِةِ كَنْدَ. I said to him, Oh, Abu Bakr, you heard from Sharik. How old were you when you heard from Sharik? He says, I was 14 at the time. And back then, my memory was better than it is today. Meaning when I was 14, I had a better memory than I do today. Imam al-Dhahabi, he said, I say, he's told the truth. I swear by Allah. And where is the memory of an individual who is just approaching puberty from the memory? Where is the comparison from an individual who is just approaching puberty to an individual who is in the 8th decade of his life? Right? And this is a lesson for us to benefit at a young age as it relates to memorization. Naam. He says, قال الجرجاني فسألت يحيى بن معين عن سماع أبي بكر بن أبي شيبة من شريك فقال أبو بكر عندنا الصدوق وما يحمله أن يقول وجدت في كتاب أبي بخطي وقال وحدثت عن روح بن عبادة بحديث الدجال وكنا نظنه سمع من أبي هشام الرفاعي. Al-Jurjani, he said, and I asked Yahya ibn Ma'in about the hearing of Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah from Sharik. Yani, did he hear from Sharik for real? Yahya ibn Ma'in, he said, Abu Bakr to us is trustworthy and reliable. Saduq. And what would carry him to lie? He didn't have to say that I found in my father's book with his handwriting. Meaning, why would he lie when he gives these details about the information that he's gotten? So instead of trying to fabricate and pass something off, he would say something like, I found in my father's book with my father's handwriting. And likewise, he said a statement, Huddithtu an Roh ibn Ubadah. I was told about Roh ibn Ubadah regarding the hadith of the Dajjal. He didn't say I heard it from him. He said somebody told me. So he didn't have to tell us somebody told him. He could have just said, I heard. So why would he lie about something, is what he's saying. And likewise, Yahya, he goes on to say, and we used to think that he heard from Abi Hisham al-Rifa'i. We used to think this about him. And Abu Hisham al-Rifa'i is somebody who was just before their time. He says, but he didn't, and he let it be known that he didn't. He says, Qala Abdan al-Ahwazi. That last statement, he didn't, was from me. He says, قال عبدان الأهوازي كان أبو بكر يقعد عند الاسطوانة وأخوه ومشكدان وعبد الله بن البراد وغيرهم كلهم سكوت إلا أبا بكر فإنه يهدر. Abdan al-Ahwazi, he said that Abu Bakr used to sit at the pillar, the pillar in this masjid in Kufa, him and his brother and Mushkadana, who was another scholar of hadith, and Abdullah ibn al-Barrad, and other than them. All of them would be quiet. They wouldn't talk. Except Abu Bakr, he would be talking in a fast pace. He says, Qala ibn Adi. Ibn Adi is another scholar of hadith talking about this narration that we just mentioned. He said that this pillar is the same pillar that Ibn Uqda used to sit at. Ibn Uqda was a teacher of Ibn Adi. And Ibn Adi, he says, in Ibn Uqda, he said to me, this is the same pillar that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to sit at. Meaning this is where Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to give his classes. And after him, Alqamah used to sit there. Alqamah, the freed slave of Ibn Abbas. I'm sorry, Alqamah ibn Waqqas, not Ikrimah. Alqamah ibn not Al-Waqqas. Alqamah al-Nakha'i. Alqamah ibn Waqqas, I'm sorry. Alqamah ibn Waqqas. He used to sit there after that. And likewise, after him was Ibrahim. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. And after him was Mansur. And after him, the person that used to sit there was Sufyan al-Thawri. And after him was Waki' and Waki' ibn Jarrah. And after him was Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. And after him was Mutayyan. So all of these are a series of the most highest scholars in the area of Kufa who would give their class in this location. It's like who took over the university after the next. So if we start with Ibn Mas'ud, then Alqamah ibn Yazid al-Nakha'i, then after him, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, then Mansur, then al-Thawri, then Waki', then Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. Like this. نعم. He says, وقال صالح بن محمد الحافظ جزر أعلم من أدركت بالحديث وعلله علي بن المديني وأعلمهم بتصحيف المشايخ يحيى بن معين وأحفظهم عند المذاكرة أبو بكر ابن أبي شيبة. Salih ibn Muhammad al-Hafiz Jazara, he said, the most knowledgeable person that I've reached regarding the hadith and their subtle mistakes was Ali ibn al-Madini. And the most knowledgeable person I reached regarding the mistakes of the scholars and their wordaging of the hadith was Yahya ibn Ma'in. And the one who had the greatest preservation and memory of the hadith at the time of reviewing was Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. I mean, he was the most capable of saying his hadith and transmitting them. Naam. He goes on to say, قال الحافظ أبو العباس ابن عقدة سمعت عبد الرحمن بن خراش يقول سمعت أبا زرعة يقول ما رأيت أحفظ من أبي بكر بن أبي شيبة فقلت يا أبا زرعة فأصحابنا البغداديون قال دع أصحابك فإنهم أصحاب مخاريق ما رأيت أحفظ من أبي بكر بن أبي شيبة. Al-Hafiz Abu al-Abbas ibn Uqda, he said, I heard Abdul Rahman ibn Khirash saying, I heard Abu Zur'a al-Razi, the major scholar. He said, I heard Abu Zur'a saying, I've never seen anyone with a greater memory than Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. So Abdul Rahman ibn Khirash, he said to him, Ya Abu Zur'a, oh Abu Zur'a, what about our companions from Baghdad, our Baghdadi scholars that we took from? He said, Da' ashabak, right? Don't even bring up your teachers from Baghdad, right? Because indeed, they were individuals who were people of makhariq, trickery and, false narrations, etc. He said, and I've never seen anybody more reliable in their memory or more greater in their memory than Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. قال الخطيب قال الذهبي قال الخطيب كان أبو بكر متقنا حافظا صنف المسند والأحكام والتفسير وحدث ببغداد وهو وأخواه القاسم وعثمان. Al-Khatib, al-Baghdadi, he said that Abu Bakr was one who was proficient in narrating, excellent in narrating, with a great memory. He compiled the book known as Al-Musnad. So he had a Musnad Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, or Musnad Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. And he also had a book in Islamic law, Al-Ahkam. And he also had a tafsir. He had a book compiling the narrations regarding tafsir. And he used to narrate hadith in Baghdad. Him and his two brothers, Uthman and Al-Qasim. Or Al-Qasim and Uthman. And it's important that they mention Baghdad because that's like the capital of the Muslim world at that time. It's like his status was so great that he would narrate hadith in Baghdad. Not in his small city, but in the major metropolis of the Muslim world where everybody would be at. He was the one who would be narrating hadith there. He said, قال إبراهيم نفطوية في سنة 34 و200 أشخص المتوكل الفقهاء والمحدثين فكان فيهم مصعب بن عبد الله الزبيري وإسحاق بن أبي إسرائيل وإبراهيم بن عثمان الحروي وأبو بكر وعثمان ابن أبي شيبة وكان من الحفاظ فقسمت بينهم الجوائز وأمرهم المتوكل أن يحدثوا بالأحاديث التي فيها الرد على المعتزلة والجهمية. قال فجلس عثمان في مدينة المنصور واجتمع عليه نحو من 30,000 وجلس أبو بكر في مسجد الرصافة وكان أشد تقدما من أخي اجتمع عليه نحو من 30,000. Ibrahim Naftoya, he said that in the year 234, the Khalifa Al-Mutawakkil, he dispatched the scholars of Islamic law and hadith throughout the land. And from them was Mus'ab ibn Abdullah al-Zubayri and Ishaq ibn Abi Israel and Ibrahim ibn Abdullah al-Harawi and Abu Bakr and Uthman, the two sons of Abi Shaybah. And these two individuals were high scholars of hadith. And he distributed amongst them the gifts, right? The prizes, the things. And he commanded them, Mutawakkil commanded them that they narrate specifically the hadith that are a refutation against the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah. This is right after the fitna of Imam Ahmed. Al-Mutawakkil was the Khalifa who removed the fitna. After Al-Ma'mun and Al-Mu'tasim and Al-Wathiq came Al-Wathiq's son, Al-Mutawakkil, who removed the fitna. And he commanded these scholars to narrate specifically the hadith that refute the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah, the ones who ignited that fitna. He goes on to say, so Uthman, he took up location in Medina al-Mansur. Medina al-Mansur is a location in Baghdad named after Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. So Uthman, he took up location in the Medina al-Mansur, the neighborhood in Baghdad, and there would be around him approximately 30,000 individuals learning from him. And likewise, his brother, Abu Bakr, he took up location in Masjid al-Rasafa, which is known as Masjid al-Khulafa. It's a famous masjid in Baghdad. And he was more advanced than his brother. And he would have around him approximately 30,000 as well. He goes on to say, and I know we've exceeded some of our time for, inshallah, as-sabr jameel. He said, Al-Dhahabi says, I say Abu Bakr was extremely strong in his personality, to the extent one time he disapproved of or denied a hadith that was reported by Yahya ibn Ma'in and no one else. It was a narration that Yahya ibn Ma'in narrated that nobody else had on Hafs ibn Ghiyath. And so Abu Bakr, he said, where did Yahya get this hadith from? These are the books of Hafs present, and this hadith isn't in any of them. Then Al-Dhahabi, he mentions, and we'll breeze through this inshallah, which is the sunnah. You know, when you talk about a person of hadith, and when we say sunnah, we don't mean the sunnah of the Prophet. We mean like the adab, the etiquette of the Muslims, how they would act. From the sunnah of the Muslims is that when they talk about a person of hadith or they talk about a book of hadith, they want to connect themselves to that. And so they mention some of their chains to that person or some of their chains to that book. And this is an etiquette that we see Imam al-Dhahabi here implementing. And so he says, أخبرنا أبو فضل أحمد بن هبة الله بن أحمد الدمشقي قراءة عليه غير مرة. That Abu Fadl Ahmed, the son of Hibatullah, the son of Ahmed al-Damashqi, informed us in a way when he was read upon more than one time. He said that Abdul Mu'izz ibn Muhammad al-Harawi transmitted to us. He said that Zahir ibn Tahir informed us in the year 527 in the city of Hura in Afghanistan. He said that Muhammad ibn Hamdun as-Salami or Sulami informed us. He said that Ahmed ibn Abdul Mu'izz informed us. He said that Zahir informed us, as well as Tamim ibn Abi Sa'id. The two of them, they said that Abu Sa'd Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman al-Kanjaruthi informed us. He said that Abu Amr ibn Hamdan informed us, who said that Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili, yani the major scholar, the Sahib al-Musnad, Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili, informed us. He said that Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah narrated to us. He said that Muhammad ibn Bishr narrated to us on the authority of Ubaydullah, on the authority of Abi Zinad, on the authority of Al-A'raj, on the authority of Abi Hurairah, that who said that it was mentioned to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the crescent moon, the hilal. And so he said, when you see it, then fast. And when you see it, i.e. after that, then break your fast. And if it is concealed from you, then count out 30. And Dhahabi says, this hadith is sahih, and it has a unique path. The only one to narrate it is Abu Zinad, on the authority of A'raj, and nobody has narrated besides him other than Ubaydullah ibn Umar. And nobody has narrated from Ubaydullah ibn Umar other than Muhammad ibn Bishr al-Abdi, as far as I know. This is what Al-Dhahabi says. He says, and it was reported by Muslim on the authority of Abu Bakr. And so you find that my chain catches up to the chain of Muslim in a high fashion. Meaning, even though I'm so far after Muslim, my chain has in it the same amount of people as Imam Muslims. And this is what they call in the science of hadith al-ulu. One of the things that you want to constantly do with regards to chains, if possible, is to get the more concise and summarized chain with a lesser amount of people. And they call this seeking of a high chain, highness in its chain. And so Imam al-Dhahabi, he has a chain that matches the chain of Imam Muslim, catches him up to the level of Imam Muslim in his narration. He says, so this chain has come to us in a way that matched Muslim in a high fashion. And nobody from the people of the Sunan, yani the four books of the Sunan, Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah, has narrated it other than Nasa'i. So he narrated it on Abu Bakr, Ahmed ibn Ali al-Mirwazi, on Ibn Abi Shaybah. And so my chain is higher than his chain by 2 rings. Meaning I have a chain that is shorter than his by 2 people. He goes on to mention a couple of more narrations. He says, Akhbarana Abdul Hafidh ibn Badran, that the Hafidh of Hadith, Abdul Hafidh ibn Badran informed us. He said that Yusuf ibn Ahmed, as well as Yusuf ibn Ahmed, both of them informed us. They said that Musa ibn Abdul Qadir informed us, who said that Sa'id ibn Ahmed narrated to us, who said that Ali ibn Ahmed al-Bindar informed us, who said that Abu Tahir al-Mukhallas informed us. He said that Abdullah ibn Muhammad narrated to us. He said that Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah narrated to us. He said that Abu Khalid al-Ahmar, Sulaiman ibn Hayyan, narrated to us on the authority of Sulaiman al-Taymi, on the authority of Abi Uthman, on the authority of Usama ibn Zayd, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who said that the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, I have not left upon my nation after me any fitna more harmful upon the men than women. I have not left for my nation after me any fitna more harmful upon men than women. Al-Dhahabi says, and with that same chain, i.e. up to Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah informed us. He said that Humayd ibn Abdul Rahman narrated to us on the authority of Hisham ibn Urwa, on the authority of his father, who said that I heard Usama ibn Zayd, and he was asked, how did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to travel when he left from Arafat? How did he move? What was his traveling like when he left from Arafat, i.e. during Hajj? To which Usama, he said, Kana yasirul anaq. He would move at a moderate pace on his riding animal. When he would leave Arafat, he would leave at a moderate pace. He wouldn't be very fast going. He says, فَإِذَا وَجِدَ فَجْوَ النَّص. And whenever he would find a clearing or some open space, he would move fast. He would gallop. Hisham, the narrator, he said, and a nas is traveling at a pace or moving at a pace higher or greater than al-anaq. So he would gallop when he found open space. Both of these narrations were reported by Muslim on Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. So we caught up to him as well in these narrations. He says, last narration, وَأَنْبَأَنَا ibn Alan, or ibn Alan, he said, حدثنا al-Kandi. Ibn Alan, he transmitted to us. He said that al-Kandi narrated to us, who said that al-Qazzaz informed us, who said that Abu Bakr al-Khatib, yani al-Baghdadi, informed us, who said that Ahmed ibn Ali al-Muhtasib informed us about Muhammad ibn Imran al-Katib, who said that Umar ibn Ali narrated to me, who said that Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn al-Murabbi' narrated to us. He said, I heard Abu Ubaid, and he said, Al-Rabbaniyun, or Rabbaniyul Hadith Arba'a. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim ibn Salam, he said that the Rabbaniyun, the educating scholars of Hadith, the scholars who can educate you in Hadith, are 4. فَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِالْحَلَالِ وَالْحَرَامِ أَحْمَدُ ibn Hanbal. So the most knowledgeable about what's halal and what's haram is Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And the best of them, وَأَحْسَنُهُمْ سِيَاقَةً لِلْحَدِيثِ وَأَدَاءً عَلِيُّ ibn al-Madini. And the best of them in his wordage of the hadith and how he transmits it is Ali ibn al-Madini. وَأَحْسَنُهُمْ وَضْعًا لِكِتَابِ Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. And the one who was able to put together the best book out of all of them, who knew how to make a book from all of them, was Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah. And the most وَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِصَحِيحِ الْحَدِيثِ وَسَقِيمِهِ Yahya bin Ma'in. And the most knowledgeable of them about the authentic and inauthentic hadith from them was Yahya ibn Ma'in. Lastly, Al-Dhahabi, he says, وَقَالَ الْبُخَارِي وَمُطَيِّن مات أبو بكر في المحرم سنة 35 و200. Al-Bukhari and Mutayyin, the two of them said that Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah, he died in the month of Al-Muharram in the year 235 after the Hijrah, to which Al-Dhahabi, he says, آخر من روى عنه أبو عمرو يوسف بن يعقوب النيسابوري وبقي إلى السنة 29 و300 وقد خلف Abu Bakr waladahu al-Hafiz al-Thabt. He says that the last person to transmit from or to narrate from Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah was Abu Amr Yusuf ibn Yaqub al-Naysaburi. He's the last person, the last to die. That's what we mean by the last person. He was the last person to die from those who directly transmitted from Ibn Abi Shaybah. And he remained alive until 320 something Hijrah. So almost 100 years after Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shaybah died. So that gave an opportunity for the later generations to catch up to the earlier generations because of how long this individual lived. Almost 100 years, and you can cut a lot of people out of the chain like that. So he lived to 320 something Hijrah. And Al-Dhahabi, he says, and Abu Bakr was succeeded by his son, who was a scholar of hadith, an extreme scholar of hadith as well, and very reliable. And with that, we ended the lesson, inshallah. With Allah's permission, probably tonight, sometime later, we'll put out the statement of, or the biography of Bakr ibn Makhlad, just because of how much I love this individual. And he's an example for us here in the far west, the Western Hemisphere, about how we should be with bringing hadith here and how one or two individuals can ignite a flame to make an area, a land of hadith. And this is our goal, inshallah. May Allah give us success and make it sincerely for his face and forgive us of our sins and enter us into paradise. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.